well,
Yeah.
this AI company, and they're not just, building powerful AI. They're really focused on the safety aspect,
I,
making sure it's beneficial, like trying to raise I don't know, like a well-behaved super genius or something.
yeah.
And to help us unpack all of this, we've got insights from three key figures at Anthropic: Dario Amodei, the CEO, Amanda Askell, an AI alignment researcher,
Hmm.
and Chris Olah, he's like the mechanistic interpretability expert. So trying to
So,
figure out how AI actually thinks.
well, it's a tough balance to strike, isn't it? Power and safety. But
Yeah.
that's what I find so interesting about Anthropic. They're
Yeah.
really taking this scaling hypothesis seriously.
What's that?
So the idea is if you give AI more computing power, you feed it more data.
Mm-hmm.
It leads to these surprisingly large jumps in its capabilities.
So they're basically saying, let's give AI all the resources it needs, see what it can do, but with a whole bunch of safety measures in place. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like they're running this grand experiment, but with this strong emphasis on responsible innovation. I like that.
But hold on. I mean, doesn't all this power come with, like, you know, some serious risks? I
Sure.
mean, we've all seen those sci-fi movies where AI takes over. It gets a little,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're hitting on a major point here. And Amodei himself has talked about this. He talks about the potential dangers, especially in areas like,
oh, like what?
cybersecurity, bioengineering,
Hmm.
even nuclear technology.
Wow. Okay.
And that's why he's pushing for this idea of a race to the top, where companies really prioritize safety measures alongside the advancements.
Okay, so it's not about, like, stopping progress altogether, but
Right.
making sure we don't create a monster in the process.
Yeah. You want to make sure it's a good AI. And so that's where Anthropic's responsible scaling policy comes in, and this idea of AI safety levels. They're creating a framework to manage risk as AI gets, more sophisticated.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here, but, like, what exactly is this AI that Anthropic is building?
Okay, so this brings us to Claude.
Claude?
Claude, it's their AI model, and think of it as this highly trainable, super smart assistant.
Okay.
They have a few different versions:
Like what?
Opus, Sonnet, and Haiku.
Okay.
And each one kind of balances capabilities, things like speed and cost.
So different flavors of Claude
Yeah, different flavor.
for different tasks.
Exactly.
But tell
Yeah.
me, like, what makes Claude so special? What's the big deal?
Oh, the big deal. We'll get this. Claude can actually analyze what's happening on your computer screen and even interact with the interface.
Wait, seriously, that's both, like, amazing
It's pretty cool.
and a little scary. Like,
Right.
I don't know, the implications of AI being able to, like, see what we're doing on our computers.
Yeah, you're right to be cautious. I mean, the possibilities are really immense, but so are the potential dangers. That's where Amanda Askell comes in.
Yeah.
She's focused on giving Claude this distinct personality, one that's helpful and nuanced.
So not just a powerful tool, but almost like an AI companion.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. What does that look like?
Well, Askell wants to make sure that you create an AI that's helpful,
Mm-hmm.
that's respectful of the user, can provide valuable insights,
Yeah.
but without just, telling us what you want to hear. They call it avoiding sycophancy. Sycophancy, so where the AI just kind of parrots back our own opinions instead of
Oh.
giving us like objective information.
So no AI yes men allowed.
Yeah, that's right.
But how do you actually go about building personality into AI? I mean, that sounds like a tall order.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And it involves this technique called prompt engineering.
Oh, yeah.
Askell uses like principles from philosophy and logic to craft these prompts that get the best results out of Claude.
Okay.
It's kind of like talking to this very literal but like extremely powerful genie.
I like that analogy.
Right.
It's not just about feeding the AI data.
Mm-hmm.
It's about asking the right questions in the right way
You got it.
to get the outcome you want.
Exactly.
Right.
And then there's another layer to this. Askell also uses something called reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF.
Okay.
Basically, they let Claude learn from human preferences, like, almost like training a puppy with positive reinforcement.
Oh, okay. So you're shaping Claude's behavior through feedback.
Exactly.
Why is this so crucial?
It's crucial because you want to make sure that the AI is aligning with our values,
Mm-hmm.
that it learns to be helpful
Okay.
in ways that we actually want.
Right, we're not just throwing powerful AI out into the world and hoping for the best. We're actively guiding it. Okay, so we've got this powerful AI. It's helpful. It's in the making, but what about ethics?
Yeah.
How do we make sure it operates within certain boundaries?
Well, this is where constitutional AI comes in.
What is that?
It's essentially giving AI a set of ethical rules to follow.
So like a constitution guiding its actions, like
Exactly.
a moral compass
Yeah.
for AI.
That's a good way to put it.
That's pretty fascinating. But I have to wonder, I mean, even with all these safeguards in place, don't we still run the risk of creating an AI that we don't fully understand?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And it leads us to our final guest here, Chris Olah, who's tackling this very issue. He's doing really groundbreaking work in what's called mechanistic interpretability,
Uh-huh.
which is basically just a fancy way of saying he's trying to understand how AI actually thinks.
That sounds pretty intense. How does he even begin to do that? Like, is he reading AI's thoughts or something?
Well, not quite mind reading, but Olah, he really believes that to to ensure safety and control, we need to understand how these systems, how they develop and evolve.
Yeah.
He uses this analogy of AI growth.
Okay.
So, like understanding child development, but for AI.
Okay. Okay. But how do we actually look inside the so-called AI brain?
Well, Ola dives into these concepts of features and circuits in neural networks. So
Yeah.
remember how we talked about features as like these building blocks of meaning?
Yes.
Well, the circuits are how they connect to form those complex thoughts.
So it's like breaking down AI's thought processes into their most basic components.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And Ola's work here is vital because by understanding these connections,
Yeah.
we can potentially, identify and mitigate
Okay.
any harmful or biased thought patterns. Like we're trying to understand the language of AI so that we can communicate effectively to make sure we're on the same page.
This is getting really interesting. So we're talking about features and circuits, and these are representing a whole world of concepts.
Yeah.
But how can AI with, limited resources handle so many different, concepts? It seems like that would require a massive amount of processing power.
Well, that's where this idea of the linear representation hypothesis comes in.
Okay.
This hypothesis suggests that AI can represent concepts by adding together these directional vectors,
What?
almost like building blocks of meaning.
Yeah, like Legos.
Exactly. Exactly. You can create so many different things with just a limited set of blocks.
Ah, so it's about efficiency.
Right.
AI is finding clever ways to represent a lot of information with limited resources.
That's it.
Okay.
And to make things even more efficient, they use what's called the superposition hypothesis,
Hmm.
which allows AI to handle so many concepts with limited resources by cleverly overlapping features.
So it's almost like a magic trick, pulling a rabbit out of a hat, but instead of rabbits, it's this whole universe of information packed into a single feature.
I love it. That's a great way to put it.
Aren't that cool?
And then remember Ola's research on monosemantic features.
Mm.
He's trying to find the individual ingredients in this complex recipe. His papers toward monosemanticity
Mhm.
and scaling monosemanticity are really showcasing the progress being made in understanding these large language models.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
We went from understanding the basic concept of scaling to the intricate workings of AI thought.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot to process, but before we get too lost in the circuits and features,
Okay.
let's just step back for a second and recap
Yeah, okay.
like what we've learned about Anthropic's approach so far. So we started with Dario Amodei and his vision of this responsible scaling. Acknowledging the immense power of AI, but also emphasizing the need for safety. It's like he's saying, let's harness this incredible force, but let's make sure we have a good set of reins.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's
Yeah.
not about stopping progress. It's about making sure that progress doesn't come at the cost of our safety or well-being.
That's right. That's right.
So let's move on
Yeah.
to part 2.
Okay.
Where we'll unpack this a bit more and see what else Anthropic is doing to make sure that their powerful AI remains a force for good.
Sounds good. Picking up where we left off talking about Dario Amodei's emphasis on responsible scaling. It's
Yeah.
like he's saying, look, this AI stuff is incredibly powerful, but we need to be careful.
It's like handling nitroglycerin or something.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
need to be super careful with
I
it.
got to make sure it's used for good.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And this leads us to Amanda Askell and her work on shaping Claude's personality. And what I find fascinating here is her focus on preventing sycophancy.
Right.
Like we've all encountered those yes men, right?
Oh, yeah.
The people who just tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Askell is making sure that Claude doesn't fall into that trap.
Right, because we need AI to be honest with us,
Yeah.
even if it's not, what we want to hear.
Exactly.
So how do you prevent that? How do you make sure that Claude doesn't just become an AI flatterer?
Well, through careful prompt engineering and reinforcement learning,
Mm-hmm.
she's teaching Claude to be truthful, to provide objective information, even if it is not the most, palatable.
So it's like training, like she's training Claude to be a good friend, someone who will support you, but also tell you when you're, messing up.
Exactly. Exactly. Someone who will challenge you a little bit,
Right.
help you see things from a different perspective.
Okay, interesting. So not just a mindless tool,
Right.
an AI that can actually
Yeah, push
Yeah.
back a little.
challenge us.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And then we have Chris Olah, who is on this mission to unravel the mysteries of AI's thought process through mechanistic interpretability.
Okay, can you break that down for me a little bit?
Yeah, so think of it this way. Imagine you have this super smart robot, but you have no idea how its brain works.
Okay.
That's the black box problem,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Ola's trying to shine a light inside that box
Mm-hmm.
so we can understand how the AI is making decisions.
So he's like an AI detective piecing together the clues.
Exactly. He's
Mhm.
trying to figure out what makes this thing tick.
Yeah.
And one of the ways he does this is by exploring these features and circuits in neural networks.
Right.
Remember how we talked about those features being like building blocks of meaning?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the circuits are how those blocks connect and interact to form more complex thoughts.
So by understanding the circuits,
Yeah.
we could potentially identify harmful thought patterns or biases.
Exactly. It's like having a map of the AI's thought processes.
Okay.
You can navigate its inner workings, make sure it stays on the right path.
Right. So we don't end up creating something that's harmful or biased.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, we keep coming back to this.
Sure.
How can AI, with limited resources, handle such vast amounts of information? It seems like that would require just an enormous amount of processing power.
Well, that's where the linear representation hypothesis comes into play.
Okay.
This hypothesis suggests that AI can represent, these complex concepts efficiently by combining simpler building blocks of meaning.
So almost like Legos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you were saying before,
Right.
you can create countless different structures just using a limited set of Lego bricks.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's all about clever combinations
Yeah.
and efficient use of resources.
Yeah, making the most of what you got.
Right. Okay.
And to make things even more streamlined, there's this idea of the superposition hypothesis,
Okay.
which allows AI to handle so many different concepts with limited resources by cleverly overlapping features.
Oh. Okay. So I'm trying to picture this. It's almost like like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat.
Okay, yeah.
But instead of a rabbit, it's like a whole universe of information packed into a single feature.
That is such a good way to visualize it. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
And then remember Ola's research on monosemantic features.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to isolate those individual ingredients.
Okay.
The core building blocks of meaning to understand how they contribute to that overall, the recipe of AI thought.
So we've got these interconnected features, right?
Yeah.
Representing this vast world of concepts, but Ola is trying to
Untangle it all.
untangle them,
Yeah.
understand their individual meaning.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fascinating. But let's shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about the technical side of things.
Super.
But what does all of this mean for, for us, for everyday people?
Yeah.
If AI can learn and adapt and even interact with our digital world in ways that we're only beginning to grasp, how
Yeah.
does that change things for us?
That is the $1 million question.
Yeah.
And honestly, there is no easy answer.
Right.
But I think that's what makes this whole field so exciting
Mm-hmm.
and frankly a little bit unnerving.
Yeah.
We're standing at the edge of a technological revolution.
Yeah.
And the choices that we make now will have ripple effects for generations to come.
It's both exhilarating and a bit daunting.
It really is.
But that's kind of the point of these, deep dives, right? Confronting these big questions and grappling with the complexities of,
Yeah.
the future that's unfolding in front of us.
Yeah.
It's not about having all the answers, but
Right.
but engaging in the conversation, exploring different perspectives. Yeah.
And asking the tough questions.
That's right. That's how we learn.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's crucial to remember that AI isn't some distant futuristic concept.
Right.
It's already here.
Mhm.
It's woven into the fabric of our lives.
Yeah.
And the more we understand it, the better equipped we'll be to navigate its potential benefits and challenges.
Okay, so we've explored this idea of, responsible scaling,
Yep.
the importance of shaping AI's personality, the fascinating work of deciphering how AI thinks.
It's amazing.
But before we jump into the final part, I want to touch on something that we briefly mentioned earlier, constitutional AI.
Oh, yeah.
Can you remind us what that's all about?
Sure. So remember how we talked about giving AI a set of ethical rules to follow?
Mm-hmm.
Well, constitutional AI is exactly that.
So it's like embedding a moral compass within the AI,
Yeah, you got it.
guiding its actions and decisions to make sure that it's aligned with
Human values.
human values. Yeah.
That's right. So it's like a safeguard, a way to make sure that, even as AI becomes more powerful, more autonomous, it stays on the right track ethically.
Yeah, exactly. It's another layer of protection
Okay.
to ensure that these incredible technological advancements are used responsibly and for the benefit of humanity.
Okay, so we've got this multi-layered approach
Right.
to building safe
Yeah.
and beneficial AI.
It's really impressive.
And it's clear that Anthropic is taking the potential risks very seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're putting a lot of thought into how to mitigate them.
Yeah, and I think that's really what sets them apart. They're not just chasing the next big breakthrough.
Okay.
They're really carefully considering the potential consequences
Yeah.
of their work
That's good.
and taking proactive steps to ensure a positive future for AI.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
It has.
We went from, the high level concepts of scaling and safety to, the intricate details of prompt engineering and mechanistic interpretability.
It's amazing how deep we've gone.
Yeah, but there's still more to uncover.
There is.
So in the final part, we'll explore the implications of all of this for the future and what it means for you, the listener.
I'm excited.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our Anthropic deep dive.
Yeah.
We've talked about so much, from like the power of scaling
Right.
to, all this AI safety stuff and even, mechanistic interpretability.
It's a mouthful.
Which is, it's a wild concept.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what all this means for the future,
Well, I think it all circles back to that initial concept of scaling that we talked about.
Yeah.
The idea that, if you just keep pumping up the computing power, you give it more and more data,
Yeah.
AI just gets more capable. And it makes these huge leaps. And it's exciting,
Yeah.
but also a little bit scary to think about where that exponential growth might lead.
It's like we're on this rocket ship that's just accelerating like crazy,
Yeah.
and we just got to make sure we've got a good grip on those controls.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I think Anthropic's focus on safety and alignment is so crucial, right?
Right.
We need to make sure that as AI gets more and more powerful,
Right.
it's still in sync with, human values and goals.
Right. So it doesn't turn on us.
Right. You don't want it to do its own thing.
Yeah. Exactly. You want it to be beneficial.
You want it to be beneficial for humanity.
Right. It's almost like we're creating this new species of intelligence.
Right. Time is. Yeah.
That could potentially surpass our own in ways that we can't even imagine right now. It's like raising a child, but this child has the potential to become incredibly powerful really quickly.
Yeah, you gotta instill those values early.
Right, you got to get those ethics in there right from the start.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
So all this work that we talked about with, Amanda Askell and Chris Olah, her teaching Claude to be helpful and respectful,
Yeah.
and him, figuring out how AI thinks, it all becomes so important.
It really does.
Because it's like, we need to be able to trust AI.
Right.
We need to be able to understand it.
Yeah.
We need to communicate with it effectively.
It's like building bridges
Yeah.
between our world and the world of AI.
Right.
And that's what's going to determine, the success of this whole AI revolution.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Anthropic, I'm left with this sense of, I don't know,
Yeah.
awe and cautious optimism.
Yeah, it's a powerful feeling.
It is. We're on the brink of something truly extraordinary. But it's up to us
Yeah.
to make sure that this power
Mm-hmm.
is used wisely and responsibly.
It's a responsibility we all share.
Yeah.
It's not just the brilliant minds at Anthropic or the researchers who are,
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries of AI. It's all of us
Yeah.
as we kind of navigate this uncharted territory
Yeah.
and shape the future of AI
It's exciting.
and the future of humanity.
Yeah.
So keep asking questions, keep exploring, keep pushing those boundaries of knowledge and understanding, because the future of AI, it's not set in stone.
Right.
It's something that we're creating together.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Well said. And who knows, what incredible wonders and groundbreaking discoveries, what world-changing innovations await us.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Just around the corner.
It's an exciting time to be alive.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep